pure cowboy shit. It's pure cowboy shit.
Well, we're into the next 100 episodes. It's Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted Stoven. He is James Foley here in the Brahman studio from lovely Calgary, Alberta, and Lloydminster. He's just on the Saskatchewan side. I feel like I
No,
missed some
Alberta.
time. You're just in the Alberta
Alberta way.
side? You're
Yeah.
just like, but not by very much. It's like a block away, right? It's
Yeah,
close.
we're a couple blocks.
Couple blocks.
Close though. You know what I mean?
Close.
Garbage could blow.
What does Brinson call it? The Canadian tumbleweed, the Tim Hortons cup that just rolls
Yeah,
down the
just
street?
down the street, Saskatchewan, wind blows the other way, back this way it comes.
Yeah. Interprovincial trash.
PST free, baby.
Um, James, I think we gotta kick off the show. We had a I don't know how much you cried. I cried a lot today. Um,
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it was tough.
so we were I think everyone involved in the PBR Canada in some capacity and everyone involved with the Coronation School and the Eno family was in Coronation today for Lori Eno's service. We lost Lori just like I don't even know what day it was. I think it was must have been August 14th, I think. Um,
Yes.
but died tragically. She was a lovely lady, James. Like so for those that don't know, Lori was the secretary timer at a lot of the top PBR Canada events in the country. Buck and Bulls had some bad cats over the years, whether it be Unabomb or what's some of the
Nobody.
right? Nobody's, yeah, big bucking dude like kicking some serious
Homegrown.
right now, homegrown, like, and just some of the nicest people though, nicest family that you'd ever meet, like in the entire bull riding rodeo world. So, um, kudos, hats off to Tanner and Taylor and Darren for all speaking today. I can't imagine doing that. I was not gonna lie, I was in a tough mood today, James, having lost my dad earlier in the year. I kind of didn't really want to hang around. I wasn't in the mood to really do that. I kind of feel like I already did that this year once with my dad, and to lose Lori, like it hurts, and I feel so bad for all the Eno crew and Coronation. They lost a pillar in their community with Lori,
Yeah.
and I just hearts go out to the whole crew.
Yeah, it was a tough one, man. Me personally, Darren and Lori took me in 10 years ago when I was an absolute nobody. Um, they never judged me on who I was or what I did or anything like that. They judged me for what they seen in me. Um, Darren and Lori have been instrumental into the man I am today, um, where my program is, what I've been able to do. I wouldn't be able to do any of it without either one of them. So, um, you know, you hear lots of people talk about like their rodeo moms and stuff. I never grew up in rodeo. I don't pretend I did. Um, my background is from a commercial cattle side of things with my family. I got into the buck and bull business just because I loved buck and bulls and I had buddies that were doing it and stuff like that. And some people, I think when I first came on the scene, some people probably doubted what I was going to do or what I maybe didn't like me because I didn't come from that tight knit group of people. But Darren and Lori never once batted an eye in helping me out, and I bought actually my first some of my first cows I bought from Darren and Lori, which would be like the mum to Piper of another bull I had called Eno Evil.
No way. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, those all come from Darren and Lori, Taylor and Tanner. Um, yeah, man, she was my rodeo mom. Uh, it's tough to put into words how much they mean to me, how much Lori meant to me. What I mean? The service was beautiful. Tanner and starting it off, and then Taylor and Darren following up. They're a tough family. You didn't see any of them without each other. they're
Yeah,
the
ever.
epitome of love, honestly. They traveled together. I told Kira the other day, like, I don't even know how many hours I have talked to Darren and Lori on the phone, like after bull riding, just driving home. Lori sleeping in the passenger seat, listening to me and Darren just talk about
Bulls and cows
just, yeah, just like
and
stuff that she probably had
events.
zero interest in listening to while she's trying to sleep. Um, yeah, man, I love them. Uh, you know, it's the the toughest part for me, I think, was um, just my heart hurts for Darren. That was the love of his life, and um, Darren's life revolved around Lori, and you know, it just, yeah, man, it's the true meaning of love was those two, and Lori was the most compassionate. And Brett, by the way, Brett Gardner, if you're listening to this, um, you're an absolutely outstanding human being. You did Lori everything she probably would have asked for. You were outstanding. Um, yeah, man, it was just it was a beautiful, beautiful celebration of life. It was well deserved. A lot of people turned up. Lori touched everybody, man. Like she never said bad about anybody. She she never judged anybody. She was somebody that I think everybody looked up to, I think everybody in their life has like probably said, you see somebody and you're like, look at that. And then you're like, man, did I really need to say that? And I don't think Lori ever had that. I don't know. She loved everybody. She was like, yeah, I can't even explain it, but my heart goes out to the family and the Brigley family and everybody. It was, yeah. I held her together pretty good. The slideshow was one that really pulled on my heart, and then obviously after the service, you don't want to, because everybody's like kind of waiting to like talk to the family and stuff like that. But when I got to talk to Darren, that was when my my tears started rolling. You could just feel, what I mean, he lost his soulmate,
Yeah.
and it's something, and obviously you going through it too this year with being able to be in the shoes of Taylor and Tanner. That's something that we don't wish on anybody, but I know it felt it was close to home for you. And you know what I mean? I love all you guys so much. You guys are all instrumental in the person I am today, and where I am today. So when I see you guys hurt, I hurt, and yeah, man, my heart goes out to all you guys.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't go see everybody today. I don't know I don't know why, but I just couldn't go and say hi. I could sign the book and but I just couldn't stick around.
Yeah, but I think I don't think there's any shame in that, Teddy. I think that you've been there once already this year, and I think it takes our hearts time to heal from that kind of stuff, and obviously for you losing your dad, it's still an open wound. And Darren said when we were talking, I can't remember exactly the words he said, but he's like, I'm never gonna get over losing Lori, but I need to learn how to live with it. And he's like, I'll move on every day living with it, but I'm never gonna understand it.
Yeah.
And it's man, it was tough. It was tough.
I feel bad
Ugh.
that I couldn't go and say hi, but I don't like it meant the world to me when my friend showed up for me when my dad went, but I couldn't put myself to go do it today and
But you showed up.
go say
You
hello. Yeah,
you
we
were
were
there.
there. Yeah.
You were there, man. That's I think, like Kira said, it's not, everybody's around when something bad happens, and then 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when everybody goes back to their regular life, you know, we still need each other. And, as a friend, that's, when I reach out to you and just ask you how you're doing and want to hear, the mental, I want to hear what Ted's doing, not the outside Ted. I want to hear what inside Ted's doing. And we have those 30, 20, 45 minute talks of just like,
Real
what I mean?
shit.
The real shit, the shit that nobody talks about. And, um, luckily Kira is somebody who is just kind of like me, where she'll even ask me like, "Hey, did you call this guy and ask him how he's doing? Like, ask how he's doing." Because we get on the phone and then we're like, "Hey, man, how's it going? What have you been up to? Blah blah blah." And then you don't ask that like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, I
And
don't I don't want to I don't want to know like how you are. I want to know like how you are. Like, well, what's going on? And yeah, so I hope if you do, what I mean, Teddy, I'll always call you and ask you how you're doing, and I hope people do that, for all of us, because in times like this, it's not the today thing. It's like 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now. Um, I think that's when we all need each other most, is when everybody goes back to their normal lives, and then you're still sitting there like with that void. So I
yeah,
love
that's
you.
difficult.
I love
Hey,
you.
love you too,
I love you, man.
man.
I love you. I love the Enos.
Me
I love
too.
the rodeo family. It's something that I tell everybody, man. I wish I was a part of this family for 37, 36 years. I'm 36 years old. Um, but
We're glad
this
to have
group,
you, James.
yeah, man, this group of people, I'm telling you, if you're not in this, if you're just listening to this because you like to hear Teddy talk or Teddy stories or stuff like that, man, there's a lot of different ways to get into the rodeo community. But once you're in, these people treat you like you've been in their, man. Today, like seeing everybody was just like, it was awesome. It was great to see just like that camaraderie of like everybody coming together and just giving that shoulder, you know,
Yeah, it's
giving
true.
that shoulder. And I don't shake hands. I hug. I tossed a lot of hugs out today.
As you should.
I hugged you.
You did. I wasn't
Yeah.
taking no handshakes from you today.
I
Not
don't
a
want to
chance.
fuck.
Not a
I'm not
plan.
here. I'm not here to touch your hand, buddy. I want to hug you.
Oh, yeah. Tough day. I feel for the Enos right now. Like you said, the Brigleys, everybody in Coronation, and I don't know what we can ever do to help. But like you say, I think down the road is the uh is the most important part. Honestly, today was a big day, but it's one day at a time, and it's being there for them down the road.
And our team's going golfing. I think that's going to be great.
Good,
Um, we confirmed it today.
good.
Uh, the last place team last year. Most honest, by the way. If you golf in that golf tournament and you're a cheating fucker,
Yeah,
okay, listen,
yeah.
play honest. Everybody was
Be
chirping
honest,
us last
people.
year. I
Yeah,
think we were like plus 32.
yeah. So what?
We had a bad day.
Yeah,
We had a bad day, but we guarantee you had a lot of fun.
yeah. Exactly. A
You
ton of fun.
know. And then
An
we
extraordinary
got
amount of fun.
we got pulled over on the way home last year too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Lori's brother Dale,
Yeah.
who if you don't know Dale and you're golfing at the golf tournament, you got to come meet this guy. Absolute legend. He owns the the tow truck business in Coronation.
Yeah.
So we're like 2 miles. It's like, I don't know, like it's probably 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And Dale's humming on her. He has this like
Oh shit! Like
Charger.
you guys left from Coronation?
Yeah, so in the morning we left from Coronation, we drove to Calgary, we golfed, and then we went back to Coronation,
Oh
and then I drove
geez,
home.
that's a
Yeah,
big day. Holy shit!
yeah, it's a super big day. So we're
Damn.
like 2 miles away from the Eno's house,
Yeah. And
and
you get
and
pulled over
Dale's,
there?
yeah, Dale's rocking on her. So we get pulled over, and Darren's like, "Geez, Dale, how fast were you going?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, like 120 or whatever." So this cop comes walking up, me and Tanner in the back seat, and
of
This cop
a
comes out.
charger?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Dale rolls down the window, and this cop like literally pops his head over. He's like, Dale, like knew him, right? Dale,
Come on, man.
what are you doing? Dale's like, oh, and Dale's like the most friendly guy ever. So he's like chuckling. He's like, oh, I wasn't really paying attention. We're just trying to get home. And the guy's like, just give me your driver's license. So Dale hands it to him, and he like grabs it away, comes back, goes to the car, comes back, and he's like, comes back, and Dale, yeah, slow her down, man. Come on, you know better. Gives him back his license, and off we go. Like literally got off like a over, like he was doing 40 over easily.
Yeah. Oh,
The
geez.
guy's just like, Dale, come on, Dale.
Come on, Dale. Oh
Yeah,
man.
Dale's a beauty.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah,
Man,
tough.
okay. Speaking of Brett Gardner, I thought he did an
Yeah,
amazing job today too, like you say. And we got started on this a little late, and I gotta go pick up his truck from the airport. I gotta go meet him here right now, so I gotta bail.
yep.
But I think, you know, this show, I I don't know if Lori and the crew, like, I don't like if they ever listen, but I just wanted to take the time and honor Lori on the show today. I just wanted to let the entire, family know that we're here for them. Our whole, as much as we can, like whatever we can do, we're here for you guys. And and I'm gonna miss working with Lori at the shows and miss seeing her.
Oh,
And like you say, like she just was the nicest person ever. Like I don't think she ever said anything bad about anyone ever. We just I don't I don't even know what
the
else to
cat,
say, man.
the
It just was
captain, man.
the
She was the
captain.
captain.
Yeah,
She was the captain. She was the leader.
absolutely. She was the leader. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. We better just I think that's it. Here's this one's for you, Laureate. We're gonna miss you.
Love you, Eno family.
The show this week features an interview with Shawn Wiese. Shawn has a heck of a story, and this was actually from a while ago, James, but we uh we had a really good chat here, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff. It's kind of like changed a little bit between the time we interviewed him and now. Things kind of like got delayed a little bit, but I think it's good timing with PBR teams season back in session here now, and I thought it was a good time to put out this show. A couple weeks we got Morgan Clabber coming up as well once we get that video all edited together. But yeah, I hope you all enjoy the show, James. Thanks for joining me at the start of the show.
Happy 201.
Yeah, here we go. The next Hyundai. Again, this is Cowboy Shit. I'm Ted Stoven. He's James Foley, reporting to you from the Brahma Boot Studio. Welcome back to the show. We are in the Brahma Boot Studios in Calgary, Alberta, and our guest this week, he's I feel like if I could have a mentor in this business, this guy is walking in a lot of similar paths. He's a former professional bull rider. He's a founder of both XD Sports and Vexil Brand. He also raises registered Brahman cattle through Vexil Cattle Company. He's got a lot of different stuff on the go, also in the music business, but a ton of different things. But welcome to the program this week, Shawn Wiese. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
I was looking at this, and Katie had sent the email a while ago, and I was like, man, this Sean's done a lot of similar. Like, I feel like we've done some similar stuff. I'm not in the agent business, but I definitely have my own brand with Cowboy Shit, and we're
Yep.
doing the podcast kind of side of things. And you know, I was like, I absolutely want to talk to Sean. This will be great. We'll have a great conversation, I'm sure.
You bet. You bet.
I don't even know where to start though. Like, I guess I guess we got to go back to the start though. Like, as far as you grew up in southeast Texas around the Houston area, but
Mhm.
getting into the rodeo world, I guess we got to start where the passion come from. What was step one
Yeah.
for you?
Well, my dad rode bulls, and it really goes back to, and I was young. I think I had some vague memories when I was probably about 5, and that's when he was done. But his parents didn't want him to ride bulls. He snuck around, and you can't keep uh, an adrenaline junkie away from the, if they want to go do it, they're going to figure out a way. So I think he was getting on bulls, um, his senior year in high school behind their back, right? Just kind of toying with it. But when my parents got married, they got a wild hair and moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. uh, obviously before I was born. And Dad continued to ride bulls up there. He was and got into bullfighting. And I don't even know the backstory on how he got into bullfighting, but so he was the bullfighter at the Jackson Hole Rodeo. Uh, but he would enter the bull riding too. So I've got pictures of him getting on bulls in his, his clown suit. He would get on, they would put him out first. So he'd get on first and then put his cleats on and bullfight the rest of the bull riding. So I was, as soon as I was born, he was doing that. Right. And so I think I think subconsciously, I was around it from the time I was born. And then, like I said, they ended up moving back to Texas when I was probably 2.5 or 3, and he continued to ride bulls and fight a few bulls. And so I had some vague memories of him riding and when I was about 5 or so, but that's where it came from. Now, he never did push me to become a bull rider. I think I got on a few calves, when I was 6, 7 years old. But then I went into sports, right? Played baseball, football in junior high. And I didn't actually, start riding until I was 15. And we lived in Louisiana then, and our neighbors down the road had a roping arena. And I remember one day I was in shorts and a tank top, at the house. And my dad was a farmer, so I was probably working on something. But my dad came up to me and said, "Hey, neighbor's going to buck some of their roping steers. You want to go over there and watch?" I'm like, "Heck yeah." So we go over there, and, I'm like, "Well, I want to do this." And I've got shorts and tennis shoes on and a tank top. And, I get on this steer, they'd put a rope on their head right out of the roping box. And I just got on with like a flank rope. And, it was a wreck. Steer fell down, rolled over on top of me. I had a big just rash across my ribs. Of course, my dad's thinking, okay, well, yeah, he won't want to do this. But I don't know, something, it just lit a fire under me. I'm like, heck yeah, I want to do this. Let's do it. Well, my dad, he didn't push you. He didn't force you to do anything you didn't want to do. But if you gave him the green light, he's going to take it all the way. We had a round pin and a buck and shoot within a month at the house, and steers. He went and bought a bunch of steers. So,
oh wow,
we lived on a farm, right? So he had one of his workers build a buck and shoot, and within a month, I was getting on stuff in my backyard, and it just progressed to. My dad was real social, so he knew everybody, and he found a guy that had some bulls and made a deal with him that, hey, I'll keep these bulls, feed them, you just let us buck them. And next thing I know, I got bulls at the house. And before that, though, he did have a stint on. He went to sell barn, and it was, when I finally, and I can't remember what the timeline was on, I got on steers, and that was fun. I finally started making some progress, and he felt like, okay, you need to, take a step up. And I remember one day, I was like, yeah, you bet, let's go. And I remember coming home one day from school, and there was this high horned black ball face bull in the pen behind my house. And I'm like, whoa, this just got real.
That one's scary looking.
Yeah. And this dude was mean. He was hooking the fence, and I'm like, okay.
Did not pass the fence test.
Yeah. Well, the story is that night the bull got out. My dad got a call from the sheriff like 5 a.m. That bull was the next town over on Main Street in the next town. So thank goodness Dad went, when I went to school, he went, got the bull loaded up and took him straight back to the sale barn. So I never did have to get on that bull, thank goodness. But so yeah, anyway, then he worked the deal with that contractor. He had a few bulls. I think we had 5 or 6 that we kept at the house, and I started getting on bulls at the house, and it just progressed from there.
What did your parents do for a living besides your dad was involved in the rodeo side of things, but I'm wondering where the entrepreneurship side of things came into your life. Was it taught by your parents, or was it outside influence, or where did that all start?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably. I mean, my mom and dad, like I said, they were farmers. Right? I mean, they're adventurers, right? Obviously, they got married and moved to Wyoming from Texas. So, I mean, they had an adventure spirit. And then my dad was a farmer, rice farmer in Southeast Texas. And then the reason we moved to Louisiana, my dad got hired by a big savings and loan bank that owned 500 acres in Louisiana that hadn't been farmed for like 15, 20 years. So the ground was run down. So they hired my dad to come over and clean the property up and start farming it. So they could, eventually sell it down the road. So, I mean, I guess you could say that's really not entrepreneurship, but it's adventure, right? And being an entrepreneur is all about the adventure. If you go talk to entrepreneurs, that's what they're about, right? It's an adventure. So I think, I got it from my parents, just the way they went about life, I think. And I saw, I grew up, my dad, he was his own boss, right? He woke up and super hard worker, right? But he didn't have to go to, an office building. He was at his house, farming all the time. So I think I had obviously a front row seat to that lifestyle of being your own boss and working hard, but being your own boss too, right? And not having to answer to somebody else. What you did, you saw the rewards of it, right? The hard work you put in, you instantly saw it. It didn't have to go through somebody else to take a cut of it before you made your money, right? So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, so then when did you start your first business on that side of things? Did it go from the competition side to the agency side from that when you're 15 and you started riding bulls, you were in the PRCA for 12 years, I think I read, so 18 to 30. So somewhere in there you must have started the agency side of things and then Vexil came a little bit after that, or
yeah,
what's the arc there?
yeah. The agency came. Like I said, I quit riding bulls when I was 30, and I took a hiatus from rodeo bull riding. I went and finished school. Yeah, I went to a specialty school, and I was actually living in California at the time then, and it's a graphic design marketing school. And I I didn't go to a rodeo or bull riding for 2 years. I just kind of separated myself from it because, and I've said this before, I didn't know who I was in that setting anymore. I knew it was time I was having my first child, and it was just time to move on from that, right? And so I knew I couldn't, I just didn't know who I was at a rodeo, right? I'm like, because every time for 15 years before that, if I was going to a rodeo, I was entered. So I knew I had to just kind of separate myself from the culture for a second, just to kind of get my wits about me and figure out what my next step was going to be in life, right? And that's why I went and finished school, and I got out of school and started working for a label company doing graphic design for them. And then the way the agency came about was good friends with Cody Custer, and we rodeoed a little bit together. And he was at the NFR that year. Like I said, I hadn't been to a rodeo bull riding in a couple of years, but I still watched the NFR, right? And Cody was at the NFR, and he had this sticker on the back of his vest, autotrader.com. And I remember a month or so after the finals, we talked on the phone, and I remember asking him, man, how much you get paid for that? You were all over they were all over the TV screen. And he told me the amount, and I'm like, man, that's not enough. So I think it sparked my interest, right? The whole partnership stuff, because it was just starting to show up, right, in the rodeo world.
And that was like late 90s, early 2000s. Trying to
Yeah,
figure when Cody would have been at the NFR.
Yeah, I think that was probably around 2000, somewhere in there. And then he actually he called me back probably a few weeks later after we kind of had that conversation about sponsors, and he said, man, you know what, I got to thinking, I think you should look at being an agent. And I was like, okay. He goes like, man, you know the sport, right? You were a bull rider. He goes, heck, you know, most of the guys on, and this is when the PBR was really starting to take off. Because you know, a lot of the riders that are on tour, and there was at the time there was an agent doing um, work for some guys in the PBR, and he was already getting a bad name and had done some shady stuff. And Cody said that he's like, look, this guy's, you know, he goes, I know who you are. I know you know you're a man of integrity and you love the sport. I just think you ought to look into it. And it didn't take long, and I can't remember what the timeline was, but I decided, heck yeah, I'm going to do it, and started XD Sports and started representing some guys.
So did you start off with Cody? I guess Cody would have been customer number one kind of
No,
thing. And
no,
then, no, not
no, I didn't.
actually.
He is already kind of established, right? And he was working with Teresa Underdown, and she wasn't necessarily an agent, but she represented like Herculiner. Remember that Herculiner and that ASE? She kind of was the liaison for those two brands. So she was already kind of acting as an agent somewhat, even though she didn't claim to be an agent, just because she worked those sponsorship deals like with Cody, and I think there's a couple other guys at the time. But so no, Cody, I never was Cody's agent, which is a good thing, right? We've been friends forever. So I don't like to mix. Well, at the time, at least starting out, not even knowing what I was doing, right? I was just shooting from the hip. No, I'm trying to think the first guys that I started working for. Joe Rush. You remember Joe Rush? I mean,
I don't.
This
It might be
yeah,
before my time.
he wasn't on tour for very long. Joe Rush, Jaron Nunemaker.
I know that name.
Yeah, Jaron
Wasn't he from
Nunemaker.
Florida?
No, he's from California.
California. I had the wrong side of the wrong side. Jody Newberry is a Florida guy, right? Isn't that what I'm thinking? Maybe that I had the wrong
No,
JN.
he's Oklahoma.
Okay, I'm way off.
Yeah,
Way
you're off. Yeah, typical. Hey, you're showing you're Canadian.
My geography, I've got the wrong states. My bad.
So yeah, there's a few guys. You know, I had to kind of pick some guys that didn't have any representation, and
So starting at the bottom, technically, right? Like you don't get to start off with the world champions when you're starting off as an agent, technically.
No, yeah, you just got to start somewhere, which is good. I mean, I felt more comfortable doing that anyway because I was learning as I went. Right, I didn't know what I was doing.
And what else were you making a living at the same time? Like you were probably doing 3 or 4 other things to get by.
Yeah, I was a graphic designer for that label company, and then I'd also started talking about the entrepreneurship. I learned in a hurry that I didn't like to go to the same place every day, and so I started my own freelance graphic design business. So I started picking up quite a few clients there. So that's how I was making a living doing graphic design at that time. Because the agency, it didn't pay for a while. It took some time to get some money rolling in.
And so it would take, I would think it would take a few years for sure until you kind of built things up. But then, what was the tipping point in that side of things? What year, or like when did things kind of really start really working for you, or who might have been some of the clients? Like I'm curious when, this is a lot more recent history, but it's not too far but past the year 2000. But when does a guy like JB come along to work with you?
Well, that was way further down the line. At the beginning, it was, and I tell this story because it's just part of my story. My first win as an agent was I got like 10 pairs of Oakley sunglasses, Oakley sent us sunglasses. And so I think I had 3 guys. So I gave them each 3 pairs of sunglasses, and I kept one for myself. So that was my first payday of a pair of sunglasses. So, and that had to have been 2002, something like that.
And this is probably a cold call or like a contact through somebody else. Like this is not just like, this is a big win because you're going from nowhere.
Yeah. Well, because it like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought everybody knew what bull riding was. And, so I was going, I've always been, I shoot for the moon, right? I was calling big brands and, for the most part, wasn't talking to anybody, right? I mean, you're just talking to the air because, yeah. But when I would talk to somebody, I quickly learned that, man, I can't use the acronym PBR because they thought I was talking about beer, right? Past Blue Ribbon. They had no clue what the PBR was. And so, I learned in a hurry that, man, I may have bit off more than I could chew here. But you just keep grinding, right? Those years taught me a lot because the silence taught me, right? I learned that you just can't call big brands and talk to somebody or have somebody get back with you. So I learned that was part of the process. I learned no is a part of the process because I heard plenty of that. And still, I mean, I heard that the whole 23 years I've been an agent, right? That's a part of it.
You still hear it probably.
Yeah, it's just part of it. But those years of just hearing nothing but no's, really, I think prepared me for the future. But really to my first win, well, I got to tell this part of the story. I had some makeshift website, xdsports.com, and I just did it myself. Had an email on there, had my address on there, and I got a letter in the mail from an attorney that was asking if we had any position openings, and which was high comedy to me, right? Like, what, at this point, I've got a free pair of sunglasses. I mean, that's all I've got to show for this, and you're asking if I'm hiring. But it was a fun, that was interesting to me. I'm like, somebody found me and is interested in what I'm doing. So I remember I gave him a phone call, and he was just probably a year out of law school, and he was working for his dad's firm up in Michigan. And so I'm like, well, I'll toy with him. I said, well, I'd love to meet you in person. And I said, there's a PBR in Bakersfield, California, if you're willing to maybe fly down and meet me, which I'm thinking, there's no way this guy's just going to fly from Michigan to Bakersfield, California. But sure enough, he did it. And so met him there and got to know him. And he's been my business partner for 20 something years now. So to start out, it was, okay, you bring me deals, I pay you a percentage. That's how it started. And then he ended up, in the process, I ended up getting my first good deal. But what brought him on as a business partner, we're 50-50, is, I had done research on agents and the whole, with how they relate to other sports. And the NFL, you have to be an attorney to be an agent. So, I read that and I was like, ooh, just got my wheels spinning. If the PBR were to grow and change the rules on me after I put all this work in, I'm out of business because I'm not going to law school. Right. So, that was my decision on bringing on, his name's Brad Benzinger, as a full partner. I'm like, well, okay, if they change the rules, it doesn't matter now because we've got it covered. But it worked out great because, we've been business partners for 20 years or so. And we're like best of friends. And I think that's the only way, you hear horror stories on business relationships, right? And ours is definitely not that, because we've kept it lighthearted the whole time. And we know our friendship comes first. And we know we're not brain surgeons here. We're not doing anything that's, changing the globe, so we don't take ourselves that serious. And I think that's why it's worked, right? We just put our head down, do our job, and make a lot of memories and a lot of funny stories. And so anyway, that's the very beginning of XD. But my first win was I brought on Lucky Brand jeans, which was my first taste of bringing on a brand that had nothing to do with the Western industry. And that was a real high for me because it was kind of a shock and awe, right? You show up with this brand that, whoa, they're sponsoring a bull rider. That's just doesn't, Wrangler's one thing, right? That's, oh yeah, Wrangler sponsors bull rider. Lucky Brand, whoa, that's, people turn their heads and pay attention. And yeah, that story was funny because me and Brent Vincent, and I started representing Brent because he's from Louisiana. We know a lot of the same people. And when he got on tour, I started representing him. And we, like I said, I was living in California at the time, and I set up a meeting with Lucky Brand, the marketing director. And he said, yeah, come down. Well, so I had a meeting on like a Monday, and Brent was in town, I think Sacramento, PBR maybe, and he came and stayed at the house. And Monday morning we headed to LA, and I had made a VHS tape of Brent's bull rides. I don't know how, I probably had about 10, 12 bull rides on there from the telecast. And so we go down to that meeting, and I told him, like, I've got this VHS tape. You got a player? And he goes, oh yeah, over in the owner's office. And the owners at the time were Gene and Barry. They owned Lucky Brand. And so we walk into this big office, and Barry's on one side, Gene's on the other. And they were like oil and water. Barry was he looked like an accountant, right? He was just all business. And Gene had long hair, and he was like a hippie. And so we go in there, and there's a little couch and a TV, and with a VHS player. And so we go in there, and he puts it in, and Gene stands up. What are y'all doing? He goes, we're watching some bull riding. And Gene's like, hell yeah, we are. And he comes over and sits on the couch, and we watched the bull riding. And Gene didn't know what was going on. He's like, so what are we doing? And the marketing guy said, well, looking at sponsoring Brent. He goes, yeah, we're going to sponsor Brent. He's a badass. Look at it. So he was all about it. And so we walk out of that meeting, me and Brent, just on, high five. And heck yeah, we came down here to LA, two freaking cowboys, not knowing what we're doing, and got us a deal. So that was the first real win that was going to pay me money, right? That really, kept me in the game. It was, like I said, it was an outside brand from the industry. And, then it gave me credibility too within the PBR, within that locker room, right? Okay, Wiese's not just here, doing nothing. He's actually making moves here. So, and that meant a lot to me for my confidence to keep rolling. And that had to been 20, yeah, I'm bad with years, but 2023 maybe, or not 2003. And then it just kind of escalated from there. We ended up getting Jaron Nunemaker that same year, Victory Brand cigarettes. Sure, they don't exist anymore, but that was before the rule, right, with tobacco advertising, and so you could do it. So yeah, Jaron didn't even smoke, but he was sponsored by Victory Brand cigarettes. I mean, head to toe. So that was another win. It just kept escalating from there. And then the U.S. Army came, and yeah. So
I just talked to Luke Branquino, I think last week, and he mentioned the U.S. Army thing. Would that have been something you worked with him on at all, by chance, or?
No, I didn't work. They were separate. They had their PBR portion, and they had their pro rodeo portion. And I didn't have anything to do with pro rodeo back then. The U.S. Army story is pretty funny because I got wind that the U.S. Army was looking, and to this day, I have no clue how I got that info, but I got it. And at the time, me and Brad were going, I'd booked this a sponsorship conference in Chicago. It was a sports sponsorship conference. So paid. I mean, I can't remember how much it was. It was too much. We're taking a gamble, but I'm like, we need to learn some stuff, man. We still don't know what we're doing. We're getting some deals, but we need to learn as much as we can. So anyway, I'd heard that the U.S. Army was looking at sponsoring the PBR. And so I got in touch with the agency that was representing the U.S. Army, and they were based out of Chicago, and they were actually going to that conference as well. So I set up a meeting with the guys that were running the whole deal. Me and Brad had a breakfast meeting, and just hit it off with the guys, right? I mean, Brad and I work good as a pair, especially, I mean, we know how to make people laugh and feel comfortable. And it was just a good meeting. And So they gave us the whole inside scoop on what was going on. Okay, yeah, we haven't set the date yet, but we're looking at sponsoring the PBR, and we want some riders. And at some event, we're going to probably interview some riders and figure out, they were thinking at that time that 2 or 3 riders for U.S. Army team. I said, okay. So they ended up setting the meeting in Fresno, California. And at that time, I was representing more guys, Jody Newberry. I had quite a few guys then. I feel like I had about 8.
Were
8 guys.
you must have been representing Mike Lee at the time too? I thought he was U.S. Army guy. You must have been part of that.
Yeah, Mike Lee, Jaron Nunemaker, Jody Newberry. Man, I'm bad with names, but there was probably about 8 of them. So what I did was I got them all on the list to be interviewed. I think they interviewed a total of 12 guys, and 8 of them I was representing.
All right.
So, and that goes back to that meeting I'd had with them, right? I made a connection with them. Well, for those interviews, I had shirts made up, white shirts with the XD logo on the shirt. And those 8 guys that went in to interview, I had them wear that shirt. So when they walked in that room, those guys knew who represented them. And so, long story short, they ended up going with 3 guys, and 2 of them were ours. So, and then the third one was the black kid. I can't remember his name. Anyway, it was Mike of ours. It was Mike Lee and Jaron Nunemaker, and then man, I wish I could remember his name, but the black kid. And I didn't represent him, but at the time, the PBR, it was when Michael Gaffney was kind of, he was toward the end of his career, and they were wanting Michael to be an agent. So they were kind of, and if you know Michael, I've known Michael a long time too, because we rodeoed at the same time. I'm not sure he wanted it, right? But he was like, okay, I'll do it. So they basically made that kid's agent Michael Gaffney. And so Michael's calling me when we get the deal done and you have to get the gear made. Michael's calling me, Wiese, I don't know what I'm doing. And I told him, like, I got you, G. I said, I'll take care of all the gear. You don't have to worry about all that. Just, don't worry about it. So, I did all the gear for the whole team. So that was a cool win. I mean, they launched it at Colorado Springs PBR. It must have been 2004. And I got to meet the U.S. Army general. I have a coin this day, for meeting him. And so that was a cool experience. And then obviously that year, Mike Lee won the world. So it was a good deal.
So I would hope that there was some sort of world champion bonus in there on the sponsor side of things. I'm just making an assumption that would be part of the deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't have to tell me either, but I'm really curious, and this will get into some stuff further down the line, but like, I'm curious, you don't have to share any of the numbers, but I'm really curious if you can or are willing to, because a lot of this stuff's very secretive in the Western business, and I understand it should be at times probably, but there's like I'm curious now on the enterprise side of things, and then competing brands, like how pissed was Wrangler, how pissed was Cinch when you brought in Lucky on the PBR side of things, how mad was the PBR when you brought in these competing brands? Like, I wonder how much conflict there ended up being when you're bringing in all these different things, and what, there's not a ton of the transparency on it, which, I don't know what's right or wrong on that side of things, but I look to teams now, and I look to, what is there a salary cap coming? Should there be a salary cap? Should the salaries be shared like most of the other pro sports? There's a whole bag of worms now that we're opening up. Now that we're getting on this on this side of things.
I'll go back to the Lucky Brand. The Lucky Brand, I think it was, it was one guy, right? And although I think people at the PBR noticed and they saw, I don't know that it concerned Wrangler at the time, right? They weren't worried about Lucky Brand, so I didn't get much, lashback on that deal. Because it was just one guy, right? I didn't come in with a team of guys or anything like that. I mean, on the numbers, it's I mean, every deal's different, right? But so that world championship bonus, typically all of our deals have that in it, and it varies, right? But I mean, you're looking, I mean, um, 25 to 50,000 typically, probably something like that, um, for world title bonus. But like I said, every deal's different.
And that was a major, like that was head to toe black and yellow gear. Like that was I would assume like it would probably be $100,000 thing for Mike plus the bonus at the end of the year. I'm just totally guessing. Uh, but that's head to toe. That's for a major title, like head to toe
Yeah,
sponsor. You're selling them head to toe. You're not selling them one patch on a vest. Like
yeah,
this is a major, major deal.
yeah, we call it a primary. I kind of, when I set it up, um, back in the day, that's when NASCAR was really booming, back in the early 2000s. And so I kind of based it the way I'd sold it, right? Was you have a primary sponsor, which, they have, obviously, they get more logos, they get the color scheme of the gear. And so you kind of just designate the spots, right, for a primary deal. And then you have secondary deals, and that's kind of how it's set up, because that's basically how NASCAR is set up. They have a primary car sponsor, and then so that's the way I did it. But yeah, as far as the money goes, yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, right? And it was, the money's better now in some cases. In some cases, it's not. It hasn't grown, in my opinion. It hasn't grown the way it needs to. What these guys are getting paid. Because what that was 20
20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago, and it hasn't. Um, it hasn't changed a whole lot, to be honest with you.
But our dollars don't go as far. And
Exactly.
until teams came along, the prize money was quite stagnant, in my opinion. And I don't have the numbers to back that up besides what people win at events. It's like at each event, but it feels like it's been quite stagnant for the last 20 years,
It
separate
had.
from teams coming along. Teams kind of boosted it a bit, I want to say, like, and it's probably quite a lot, I think. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'd love to see like a top line number where it's like the bull riders made 25 million in 2024 and they made 20 million in 2023. Like, I don't know those numbers on the PBR side of things. The PRCA is, I mean, they're winning more at the end of the year, but that I don't think any of it has been even par with inflation. It's definitely not in the rodeo world, because the rodeos, some of them still pay the same as they paid 45, 50 years ago, which is
Yeah.
unbelievable. But that's
Yeah.
another whole thing to talk about.
Exactly. No, yeah, it hasn't. I mean, the like I say, I'm not the guy strapping my hand in the rope and winning the check, but you can go do the research and look at the payouts, and yeah, they haven't changed. If they have, it's minimal. It's not keeping up with inflation or anything like that. Uh,
I do think there's a lot more money in this in the sport and the PBR side of things with teams. Like, I could be wrong there, but the numbers look like they've gone up a lot in the teams. And like I talked about with Shawn, I still don't think, like, I didn't bug him on it, but I still don't think that the UTBs pay a whole bunch more than they did 20 years ago. The world champion bonus, it is $1 million. For those that don't know, it's paid over 10 years. It's $100,000 a year over 10 years, for the listeners that may not be aware of that fact. But that $1 million, it's kind of like the Calgary Stampede. It still pays $50,000, which was half of what it paid 10 years ago,
yeah,
and or even 6 years ago. 2019, it was the last time it paid 100,000, but now it only pays 50, and it paid 50 in the 80s.
yeah. No, yeah. That's. I mean, that's out of my. I mean, I have my opinions on it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We don't need to get caught up in that. Sorry.
Yeah, the 23 years I've been an agent, uh, I've the reason I've had success, I think, is my whole why on doing it was I wanted to make bull riders more money outside the arena. So obviously I have my opinion on what they're making in the arena, but that's not my concern. I'm not in control of that. I'm only in control of what they make outside of the arena. And so that was my focus the whole time. I tried not to get caught up in the politics, and there are politics in every sport you get involved with. I tried to just keep my head down and do my job and focus on my why the whole time I've been an agent. And it's worked out. I feel satisfied on what I've been able to accomplish over these 23 years. But the back to the sponsorship money, which I am in control of, right, to a certain extent. I tried to keep everything. If I brought on a sponsor, and I try to put a hedge of protection around it and try to, okay, I got to keep it in the XD house because I'm trying to raise the money, right? And as soon as it starts getting out, right, whether it's a bull rider representing himself or an agent that's not charging the correct amount, it just kills you, and that was probably my biggest frustration over the years is, I'd raise the dollar amount, right? And then you don't own the brand you bring, right? So you can only, do the best you can and create as strong a relationship as you can with that brand. But at the end of the day, once they start getting proposals from other people, you're going to get lowballed. And I think that, like I said, that was probably my biggest frustration over the years is, I was constantly trying to raise, get these guys paid what they deserve to be paid. And I did, in certain instances, but, next thing you know, they're getting proposals that for, half the amount that they're paying this guy. And then, yeah, it's just hard to negotiate when you don't have control over all that. Over the years, I only kept one in-house, and that was Levi's. And, they sponsored a couple of my guys for 6 years. And
Baba and Tanner Burn for a couple of years.
Had Tanner Burn for a couple of years, and then Teal. Kababa and Teal were the pillars of that program, and they got paid the right amount of money. But for the most part, I kept it in-house.
What do you mean by in-house?
No, my connection with Levi's, who is to this day doesn't work for Levi's anymore, but one of my great friends. He wasn't before. We became great friends through this whole deal, but he was my bodyguard. So they knew that he was the go-to, right? So, and he got approached by a couple of agents, when I wasn't around, obviously, and he just pretty much shut him down. I don't even want to hear it. We're good. And so I'd say, well, that's what I mean by in-house. They weren't entertaining any other proposals other than from XD Sports. So I was able to control it. And it worked out great. Those guys Till and Kababa got paid. They got paid really good money. And they, compared to the other clothing sponsors, when you compare it to Wrangler, and Wrangler is really the main other one, right, that sponsors athletes, compared to, because I've got Wrangler guys too, right? So I know what they're paying, and I can't compete there, right, because there's just too many. The system,
the width is there's a lot of width. Yeah,
it's diluted, right? So I can't. Outside of JB Mooney, right, you don't have any negotiating power. But Kababa and Teal were making way more than Wrangler sponsored riders, for sure.
But if we're looking at the entire budget for Wrangler, say it's, I don't know, for endorsees, I'm just totally guessing and trying to formulate a number right now, but their endorsee budget for the entire one season, I would guess, is maybe $2 million. If I'm thinking about the entire endorsee, not including like sponsorships, because sponsorships probably 25 million. I'm just making up big numbers, but $2 million on the endorsee budget, that's including embroidery, clothing, product, and the actual budget. $2 million is spread around like 500 athletes, I would guess, right? Like, so everybody's going to get $2,000 out of that, or not 2,000, 4,000 out of that $1 million or whatever it might be. That's including all the product. Where if you can have even $200,000 from Levi's, if it might be. Just I'm throwing out numbers. I'm not making it up. I'm just totally making it up. But if those guys get 150 each from Levi's, it's 300,000. So they're getting a lot more. They're getting a little more bang for their buck with only having two guys instead of 500. Maybe. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to make up a business
No,
case.
yeah. I mean, obviously Wrangler does great. They invest a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Uh, and so I'm not knocking them. I mean,
No.
I can look at it from two different perspectives, right? As a business owner and as a representing an athlete, and I get it, right? I'd do the same thing, if I was them. But that wasn't my job, right? My job was to make guys more money. So it was a constant uphill battle, for 23 years and trying to raise the money.
It still
And
is.
I had some success along the way, but uh, it nowhere near that what it should be, in my opinion.
But the solution would be for there to only be a certain amount of people that could do deals inside that hemisphere, but that's likely not going to happen. I maybe we shouldn't say not likely going to, but I don't know even what the process would be like to even make that happen.
No, you would. I mean, you'd have to get on the same page as agencies, be on the same page and make an agreement, right? Of okay, here's our bottom line. We don't. Nobody goes below this, right? But you know, yeah, it'd be hard to do, right? Because
Yeah.
I've been I've like I've had my legs cut out from under me by
Yeah.
other agents on deals, and um, it's just part of it, I guess. But so it would just be a hard. You almost need. I mean, no different than I'm going to open another can of worms. The riders need a union. I mean,
Yeah. That was another
and
thing I had written down. Like that's something that probably really has to happen, but I don't know what it's going to take for that to happen.
I don't know how you do it. I mean, Tough Hedeman tried to do it. Can't remember what year that
It was
was.
like it was the year that book came out. It was 03 or 04, and that was what led to Tough leaving the PBR, I think. I think they ran him out over it.
Yeah, he tried to get it together, and we were on board with our. I mean, I had conversation with Tough during that time frame, and we were on board. All of our guys were on board, and but that's the problem with that whole union deal is you've got to have everybody. Well, I shouldn't say everybody. You've got to have
Majority.
all the top guys,
Yeah.
right? You have to have 100% of the top guys because that's where the value is, right? And Tough didn't have it. He didn't. He was close. He was close to having it, and there's just a few holdouts that you 100% had to have them in order to make the deal go. To this day, I don't. When I talk to my guys, and like I said, I'm only down to a few. Um, if they complain to me about PBR stuff, I've told them for years, I'm like, you got to have a union. I said, you can complain all you want about things they're making you do or, the added money or whatever it may be. But until you have a collective bargaining group, you don't have any power to go make those changes. The thing is I mean, I wish the PBR would really look at it. And, I wish somebody would gather them all together and have it, and the PBR would really look at it and make it work. Because if you look at all the other big time sports, right? I mean, NFL, MLB, they all have a collective bargaining group. So it's not, it's not the worst thing. It's a, it brings everybody to the table, right? With an equal voice to say, hey, here's what we love. Here's what we kind of don't love. And we'd like to talk with you about making some changes. So it's just a bargaining, right? You could meet in the middle on things, right? So I don't think it's a bad thing. It would be great for the PBR, I think.
Well, great for the overall both sides of things, but not good for the business of the PBR because I shouldn't say because I don't, but I don't know the business well enough to know the profit margins, and it probably would erode a lot of what is profit in the PBR right now, if there even is profit. I don't know if it's company that makes a huge amount of money. I don't know. I've never seen the books or looked at the books, or I don't even know if they're public in the public realm. But like that's probably the money that's actually being made by the company right now is what would get eaten up by the by that CBA and by that increase in prize money or the guaranteed insurance maybe for riders. I don't even know what that situation looks like. Maybe guarantee or I should say insurance slash healthcare. Uh, the minimum something to go to each event. There used to be like a $400. I think that's gone now. Uh,
Yeah.
but but those guys like what I was talking to Sean about, Sean Gleason, I was like, I think that there's still a little bit of like there was one guy, I didn't bring it up with him. I didn't want to open a bag of worms with him, but like there's a guy that made the world finals this year that made $5,000 on the UTB season. And he's one of the top 40 guys in the world that's going to the world finals that made $5,000 in the season. Like there's no way that guy is riding at a profitable level when he made $5,000 and he's going to the world finals. Like that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and like the most recent deal, which I just talked to somebody a few days ago, and I didn't even know, because the PBR finals this year is just kind of, yeah, can't even follow it really. But
It's tough. And like,
yeah,
honestly, I don't know how to pay attention to the UTB season anymore. Like, I see the guys at the top, like, oh yeah, cool, but I don't know anything about how the fucking points work. Like, pardon my
yeah,
language, but like, I have no fucking clue. I don't even know in Canada anymore. It's changed every year for the last 15 years, it feels like.
oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, the complaint I heard about this year is, they're having that at Cowtown Coliseum, that first section, and then
Which is
what they
the eliminations, right? It pays a
yeah,
lot of
and they
money too.
oh yeah, no, it's good money. There's great money in that. Uh, but the complaint was they're having that what they're taking. I don't even know the rules. Like I said, they're taking what the top is it the top 25
It's
something like that.
40 the first weekend, but then they only
Yeah,
take 20 to AT&T on the weekend, right? For the
yeah.
biggest.
But then
It's really top heavy.
but then they have an invite round, right?
Well,
The
is that the
invite,
one where they took the guys out of the velocity finals?
I don't know. It's an invite the way it was explained to me. It's basically an invite round, right? Well, they could ride in that elimination deal, one bull riding, right, and make it to AT&T for the big money.
But
And
there's
so
so many points available.
the complaint was you've got all these guys who are committed to the tour, and now you're going to have an invite deal where some guy could sneak in there and win that
Passio
deal
Diaz.
and make it to the deal and hadn't even rode on tour all year. I mean, yeah, that it's like, why am I committed to this if they're leaving a door open for somebody just to get in here and go ride for the big money when we're committed to the tour all year? So that was the complaint. Obviously, my answer, right? Need a union. I don't know what to tell you. I can't help you with that, right? That's not,
But
if you don't like it, you got because if you had a collective bargaining group and they proposed that, here's what we're looking at this invite section, right? So these however many guys can make it into this round and actually qualify. Well, the collective bargaining group could say, no, that's not fair. We're not agreeing to that, right? Where they just do it now, and you just got to complain about it. There's no solution. So that's where I'm like, man, it would make it a better product if you had everybody at the table to hash through it, right? Nobody's going to get 100% of what they want, but it's better that I'd rather have 50% of what I want versus 10% of what I want, right? So, and so that's why I think it would be a good thing, right? I think it would just get everybody on the same page. Everybody walks away from that meeting agreeing, okay, I'm satisfied. Now I have nothing to complain about. I'm just going to go ride bulls.
but one of the blockades on that side of things is Brand. I guess I'll throw it out here, and I'm not trying to offend anybody either, but like Brandon Bates was one of the other agents in the sport with, or was it Prodigal? Is that how you say his agency? Prodigal. So Brandon was part of it, but then he went to the team side of things. So that probably changed the entire landscape of the agency side of things in the PBR. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Sean, but that would have changed things because then a lot of people ended up going to work with like Jason Davidson, Tanner Byrne now, who
Mhm.
Tanner used to be a client of yours, but Tanner's now a competing agent with Jason, and Jason does agency work in the NHL as well. But Jason's also partners with the PBR on the Canadian tour. So there's,
No, yeah, it's it's a it's a lot of that going on, and
small world too, right?
yeah,
We're in a
and
pretty small pond.
me and my business partner, we just kind of, there's a lot out of our control, so we just giggle about it. I mean, what can you do, right? We see all that going on, but we've never, like I said, we've stayed strong to what's our why, and we're all about the bull riders. But I don't, um, I just never lost my focus on why I was doing what I was doing, and I didn't need. And back to the team deal, I got interviewed by a couple of teams to sell sponsorships for them, but I didn't agree to do it because it was basically, it conflicted with my why, and it was, well, if I'm going to go pound down doors, which I'm already doing, right, to get sponsors. Well, if I have success, I want that money to go to bull riders because that's my why. I don't want it to go to some team. So if I'm going to put in the work, then it needs to support my why. And so that's why um, I didn't entertain, I entertained it. I listened to it, right? Okay, what is this all about? And then, but at the end of the day, I didn't agree to do it because it just conflicted with my why. And we've never been like me and Brad, inside joke is we're the black sheep agency because we never did waver. We just stayed with the bull riders from the start to the end. And, we didn't get wrapped up in the politics, you know, um, we just, now that's not saying I didn't butt heads with along the way every now and then. Uh, I did, even back as far as that whole U.S. Army story I told. When I got back from Chicago after having that meeting with that agency, I got a call from Randy Bernard, uh, basically cussing my ass, saying, I mean, just in an uproar, saying I was going to ruin the deal, and I mean, I talked him off the ledge and said, hey, look, I'm not going to ruin it. We have the same interests, right? The riders, the tour, we're all on the same page here. I'm just doing my job for my riders. I'm
But
trying to give an upper hand.
but there is a potential conflict because Randy would want to land that, like, that's a multiple $1 million agreement between all different fronts. The riders are a big part of it, but like the tour was looking to land a major sponsor at the same time. So it's absolutely a conflict and he doesn't want you to fuck it up, technically.
Oh yeah, I understood where he's coming from, uh, but I told him like, and we didn't know each other that well then, right? It was very casual relationship at that point, so he
And he
didn't
was
know what
pretty
I.
new too then, was he not?
Yeah, I mean
In that role?
he'd been in for a few years, but uh, so I don't blame him. I don't blame him for being concerned. I probably would have been concerned as well, right? You put all this work in, you don't want somebody to screw it up. So I never did fault him for that. I understood his concern, and I gave him my guarantee. Like, look, we're on the same page. I'm not going to talk bad. I'm not going to tell them don't do the tour sponsorship, just do guys, right? I've never done that. Um, in all the years I've been an agent, if a company came to me and said, okay, we're looking at a a tour sponsorship or league sponsorship, and we're looking at riders, what's the best way to do that? I said, do it all. That's the best way to do it. If you can be a tour sponsor and have a group of guys, that's the perfect blend of a sponsorship in regards to the PBR. Now, I would tell them if you only have X amount of budget, go with the riders first because you're dealing with humans. So that was my selling point on. I didn't tell them not to do the PBR. I just said if you don't have enough money to do both, yeah, I'm going to sell my product, right? Buy my product, and I had good reasoning behind it, right? You're sponsoring a human, not a logo, right?
Not a league, yeah.
but in all the years, I never. I mean, it's just like you said, it's a small world, right? Yeah, I learned in a hurry. You don't burn. I mean, I don't burn bridges in general in life anyway, but especially in that world, you don't, right? I would have been out of business in a hurry, and so I never. Um, I was promoting the PBR, to be honest with you, because I'm calling all these companies that their sales teams probably weren't calling or weren't having any success talking to people. And I was selling their product, because the riders are their product, right? So, so I wasn't going to ever talk bad about the PBR because that was part of the product I was selling. So, yeah, are there things I don't agree with? Absolutely. But that wasn't my role, right? To talk about that stuff. It was to promote them.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here too, but my understanding is that any, and I might be wrong here, but I thought I heard the story at one point that three different brands, and I could be wrong again, but you were the one that actually brought in Yeti, Monster, and Levi's into the fold at all in the PBR side of things. Again, I might be wrong with this, but the Levi's was exclusively you for anything that happened in the PBR.
Yeah.
Because that became a league sponsor as well in some capacity, and Monster
No.
definitely has, and so has Yeti. But
Yeah, Levi's never did. They tried. PBR tried to get them involved, but they just weren't interested. But
well, and
yeah,
the ask might be really high to move out somebody like a Wrangler that might already be
yeah,
a
yeah. No,
partner.
it,
I
it
get
didn't.
it.
It didn't make sense. Yeah, uh, yeah, but yeah. So Levi's um, never did partner with the PBRs. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. They did on.
On an event. Didn't they at New York at MSG one time?
No,
Didn't they like
no,
title
it
sponsor it?
was AT&T. They did a deal for the Global Cup
Okay.
because they would. I guess Wrangler didn't, want to put up the money to be involved with that because that was a standalone event, right? So Levi's did actually do um, something with that solo event, but then yeah, like Monster and Yeti, yeah, I um, I got them their first initial entrance into the PBR was through us.
And was
So,
that with JB in the beginning? Like I remember Kababa being part of that. I'm trying to think back in
no,
the years and timelines, but I'm trying to think of what was the entrance? Who was the
no,
first
the
guy?
first team was first. It was 2011 is when we had the first set of guys, and that was LJ Jenkins, uh, Rubens Barbosa, Laramie Marchi, and Robson Palermo. And I wasn't actually representing um, uh, Laramie and Robson at the time. That was Bates. But I knew that for the better of the pro, I mean, you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar brand, right? And
Owned
so
by
I knew,
Coca-Cola, for the
yeah,
record.
I said I've got to have a win, right? And not that LJ and Rubens couldn't have done it, but I just knew they kind of had when they started. The way we were able to get the budget was a Brazilian play, and uh, so I had to have majority Brazilians on that team to start. But no, so I went to Bates and got Laramie and Robson on the team because I was willing to sacrifice, you know, um, for the better of the future, right? I wasn't, and not a lot of guys will do that, right? But I could see that. Okay, I need to win. I need 4 jam up guys here that are going to go make a scene. And Rubens had just come off of winning Rookie of the Year, and LJ was LJ, right? He'd staple on tour. And then obviously you had Laramie and Robson in the mix. It was a jam up team, and we just showed up with them. That was the cool part about it. I mean, I did have some branding on LJ at the finals that prior year. It was just a monster sticker on the back of his vest, just to kind of give them a taste. So I think they kind of knew it might be coming, but then I didn't talk to anybody. We just showed up Madison Square Garden, a 4-man monster team, and Rockstar was the official energy drink. So, yeah, that was the start of that program. So,
Wow. So that was this. spring, like January 2011 or January 2012?
January 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would ruffle some feathers. What was the phone call like on Monday morning after that show when you bring in Monster as the main as such a big competitor?
It really started at the finals because it worked out perfect.
Didn't LJ
LJ
win the
had,
finals?
no, he didn't win that finals, but uh, the first
Won the
round,
finals in '09 or which year did he win or 10? I'm trying to think.
I can't remember what year it was. I
Anyway,
don't
sorry. Go ahead.
know the years anymore, but no, the feathers got ruffled right away. It was an instant deal because the first round of the PBR finals that year in 2000, that would have been 2010. I had just a monster claw on the back of LJ, and it was just a sticker, just stuck it on the back of his vest. And that first round, he drew a shoot fighter, and that that claw just filled up the TV screen for forever. Like this bull kept fighting. I think he may end up still getting a rewrite. I mean, he was trying him, and it was just. And I guess the story goes the guy's hit a Rockstar, I think, called Gleason on the spot. It's like, what the hell's going on? We pay all this money, and all I see is a green claw on my TV screen. And so it ruffled feathers right away, right? Uh, and it, yeah. So I think they knew it was possibly coming, right? They got a little taste of it. So when the 4-man team showed up in New York that year, uh, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Gleason got another call from the Rockstar guy, but
Man.
it wasn't my problem, right? That was not my
There were
problem.
Rockstar guys like Valderon De Oliveira was a Rockstar sponsored
Oh,
rider. So,
they had a
yeah.
ton of, yeah. So
Huh.
I mean, yeah, they knew the game, right? But they didn't like it. Rockstar didn't like it, and uh, they, how that progressed was I knew. I told the guy that I did the deal with, Mitch. It's like, look, PBR is going to come after you now. They know, they're not dummies. They know you've got way more money than Rockstar. And I said, they're going to come after you. I said, they're not going to come to me. I said, I just know how this game works. Even though they know I brought you, they're not going to come to me. They're going to come straight to you. He goes, okay. He goes, I'll keep you posted. And it was probably a month later. He called me and said, you're right. They got in touch with me. And I said, he goes, I'm going to set up a meeting with them and I want you to be there. I'm like, all right. So we set up the meeting. He didn't tell him I was going to be there. I flew down to Corona, California, and I got there like an hour earlier before the meeting, and so Mitch and I could talk. And then I went in the conference room, and they walked in, and Wiese sitting in the room. So they were a little shocked. I think, like, thought we got around this guy, but Mitch was good. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of him. He had my back, and he told me, he goes, look, I don't know if I'm going to do a deal with him or not. He goes, but if I do, he goes, I'm going to hire you to run it. So sure enough, they became that in 2013. They took over Rockstar and became the official energy drink of the PBR, and they hired us as a consultant to manage it. So
Right on. That's a big win then.
yeah, no, I consulted for them for 10 years,
Yeah.
so it
Well,
worked out pretty good.
thanks for getting Mitch involved with our Canadian Cup series to kick that off in 2016 because
Yeah,
that was a major win to have Monster have it be the Monster Energy Tour for our entire Cup series up here. I know we're a small market. We're only the size of California up here in the Great White North. It's kind
yeah.
of green outside of my window right now, Sean. But
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
thanks for getting Mitch on board with
Well,
that
yeah,
because it's been a
I was
great deal.
involved. I was involved in all those emails because I was,
Yeah.
helped running the deal. So I got a lot. I had a front row seat to a lot of those deals that went down for Monster at the beginning. So
Right on. Ken, when did JB join the team? Because he's still I want to say he's still kind of technically a monster endorsee slash sponsored
yeah,
athlete still today, even because he's so involved still at this point.
no, he
Probably
still
will be
has.
for a long time.
He's still partnered with Monster, and we manage that deal for him. He, man, I can't. Like I said, I'm so bad with years anymore. They all run together, but that had to been
For some reason, I think 2018. I don't know why 18, but I feel like that is the timeline ish.
When did he win his first world title?
15. No,
15.
13. 13, 15. Wasn't it?
It,
No, 13 was Renato. Let me look back. I'll figure this out really quickly.
yeah,
But for sure he won it in 15. I can't remember if it was 15, 17 or 13, 15.
it may have been 15. 13 sounds familiar though.
That so it was before then because that's when he had the monster stuff on it when he was already world champ.
It was 13 and 15, I think, when he won
I
it.
think you're right. Yeah,
Oh,
that's right. Just Lockwood was 17.
yeah, 13 was his first year. And the way JB came about, I wasn't even his agent. I was consulting for
Oh,
Monster. And I told Mitch, I'm like, dude, say we got to get JB on the team. And he goes, go do it. And so, obviously I already knew JB. And, at one of those events, I pulled him aside and said, hey, would you be interested in being on the Monster team? He goes, yeah. And at that time, his mom was handling all of his stuff. And so I can't remember how it exactly went down, but we got the deal done, right? And it was probably it may have been that year before the end of the year. I can't remember how it went down, but he was finally wanting an agent outside, separate from his mom and get an agent. And he, I think he talked to Bates and he talked to us and, ultimately went with us. But
the black sheep agency for the black sheep himself.
exactly, perfect fit, perfect fit. And we've, I think, we're like I said, we've never done business the traditional way. We've never had a contract with a rider. We just handshake cowboy, right? So, and I think obviously JB, that's who he is, right? He can appreciate that. What? I don't have to sign a contract? Hell yeah, I'm going to go with y'all. So,
You'd probably just have a dart with you in the parking lot and call it good.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's great memories, and I've had JB cuss me out a few times, not in a mean way, but because I remember one time in Sioux Falls, he had a signing for Monster at this Walmart,
Oh
and
no, nobody
oh
there knew him probably, or was it 10,000
no,
people?
yeah, it was outside. It was good weather, thank goodness, and they had it out. They had this tent set up outside, and so I told JB, so you got a Monster signing in the morning. I'll pick you up, or we'll meet in the lobby at this time and go, and he would, murmur some cuss words under his breath, like he don't want to go to the signing. I'm like, dude, it's part of it. I'm sorry. And so I remember pulling in that parking lot, and that line was wrapped around the whole freaking building. And he looked at me and just mother effed me up and down. But I was just laughing. I'm like, dude, you shouldn't ride so good. If you don't want this, quit riding so good. Quit being the superstar you are, and there won't be anybody here to get your autograph.
Oh man.
But we had fun doing that stuff, right? Obviously it was all in fun. But yeah, good times.
But okay, now you got me thinking on a whole bunch of things. I'm really curious. You kind of mentioned like the world champion bonuses and like again, if you're not comfortable sharing some of this stuff, like just tell me to, you can go JB on me if you need to and tell me to get to pound sand. But like I'm really curious on what these guys getting out of some of these deals. Like I'm thinking JB Monster, like this is like the premier guy at the premier time, and Monster is like you say a multi-billion-dollar company. Like I would hope JB is getting 250,000 to have Monster as his primary at this point. And it might not be. You might not have to share like don't share that if you don't want to. And I don't want to jump into JB's business either. But like he was also U.S. smokeless for a long time, which was probably a really good deal for him at that point in time too, when the tobacco companies had the major budgets. So, but his mom was dealing the deal then, which is kind of wild. I kind of forgot about that part. But then I'm wondering more so now. Maybe is a better question to ask is like, what's the biggest deal you've ever signed? That's a little more vague and doesn't have anybody specific on it. But like, I'm curious what the biggest contract you've done for a PBR athlete might be. Maybe it was Jose lately with him being a monster guy and being a multi-world champion. I don't know. We didn't talk about this before on what you're willing to share or not either. And I might be being too nosy, but I feel like this is a bit of inside baseball that not a lot of people might know about, or B, have any clue of like what kind of numbers are rolling around?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't say. It's just, yeah, it's just too much privacy that needs to be private, but not enough. I'll tell you that much. Not enough. Good deals right at the time. I think they were, we were happy with them. Um, and
But you've probably signed some of the biggest deals, some of if not the biggest deals in Western sports history. I would just venture a guess to try and quantify it in some way. Like I don't know who else would have done bigger deals. Like maybe I'm just trying to think about it
yeah, probably so. I mean, I don't really think about it in that way, but I mean, yeah, probably. I
quietly.
mean, I was there doing it, right? I mean, it's I've done it for a long time, and like I say, my goal was to try to raise the money. So I was always pushing the limit to see how much I could get it to. I mean, Derek Kababa has been a great. I mean, there's at one point, and like I say, I don't know all the numbers, right? I don't. If I don't represent you, I don't know the number, right? But there was a time with Derek Kababa, um, and up until recent, really, uh, no world title, right? I guarantee it. If I had to bet, he was a top three paid guy outside the arena for a number of years. I mean, I had him, yeah, rolling. Um, so I know that some of those guys, like I said, there's some guys I just don't know what they're making. Right? I hope they're making a bunch. Like especially when I had Kababa at a certain amount that he was bringing in, and he didn't have a gold buckle, but and there was guys that were, I guarantee there's guys ahead of him, right, that had gold buckles that weren't making as much as he was in some of those years. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I've done some good deals along the way. Um, and I don't, like I said, I don't know how it compares. I don't know all the numbers, right? So it's hard to kind of compare what. I mean, I know a lot of them, but there's a few I don't, and so you just got to do the best you can and uh, get as much money as you can. Like that was my whole. Like I told the riders all these years, let me, you handle inside the arena, I'll handle outside, because guess what? You're not going to do this forever. You may think you are at this point, but you're not. So our goal is to get you as much money as we can in this time period before you ride off into the sunset. Um, and that's kind of how I've gone about it all these years. Now you can't do that with every rider, right? They have to have something. They have to help you, help them. Um, and that's why I always told them, you focus on winning because it's a cruel sport. If you're not winning and you need sponsorship money, nobody wants to give you money. So, but that's the goal, is to get as much money as we can while you're a bull rider. So, uh, you go take care of the arena money and I'll take care of this. So,
Now you got me thinking on the coaches and the teams and that side of it, because there's been a lot of investment go on to that side of things in the last few years. And yeah, you're maximizing all that side of things, but you are an independent contractor working for other independent contractors inside of a business that's can change at any moment in time too. But I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but it's an interesting setup. And then I was thinking earlier too about the structure of the league, and I'm trying to think of who owns the NHL, who owns the NFL, who owns Major League Baseball, the actual league, because the UFC and the PBR and the WWE are owned by Endeavor slash, that whole whatever that is now. It's a
yeah,
private business, but and it can be changed hands. Like I don't think anyone's buying the NFL. I think it's a different setup. It's almost like I don't even know how that even works, but there's some different sanctioning slash logistics and setup of the business
yeah,
that's probably
yeah,
not happening in our world for a while.
yeah, yeah. No, it's we're different. it's a different world. I mean, even though it's a professional sport, I mean, you start comparing it to, you know, big entities like the NFL and all them. It's very small. I mean, if you watch the NFL draft right on TV, you look at that. All the people that went to Green Bay for the NFL draft, right? I can't remember how many. There's like 150, 200,000 people that went to that. Well, I mean, and that's just for a draft, right? We're never going to see that in PBR draft. Okay. I've been to one PBR draft and yeah, I went to the first one, right? And it's not that. And that's fine, right? It's fine. But you can't really compare it to that because it's so much smaller. I know they're trying to, make it a big boy sport, right? But um, there's a lot of things that come with that, and that's kind of been my argument with the whole collective bargaining group for the riders, right? Is like, okay, you want to you want to have this draft, you want teams, you want to do all this stuff and grow the sport, which I'm supportive. Any way you can grow the sport, I'm there. Um, but if you want to be like the NFL, the NFL does things a certain way in regards to their athletes. So if you want to be a big boy sport, then have big boy rules and do big boy things. And that includes a collective bargaining group. And that would be my argument for you really want to grow the sport. I mean, the NFL does it and they're obviously successful, right? The Players Association is not hindering the NFL from being as big as they are. It's probably helping them be bigger. So that's what I'd like the PBR to look at. Okay, let's dive into the nuts and bolts of these other leagues: NFL, MLB, NHL, NBA, and let's see how they do things and let's mimic that, right? Because they're obviously having success, right? So they've already paved the way. How about we take that platform and just plug and play? Now it won't be exact, but I think you can plug and play a lot of it the way like the NFL does things into this PBR teams format. And they don't want to hear it, but collective bargaining group is a part of that, right? Of all these, so that's why I wish they would look at it, right? And figure out a way. Somebody's got to be the lead on it. And like I've always said, getting bull riders to join a union, right, or a riders association, whatever you want to call it, man, I don't want that job. It'd be like herding cats. I mean, it was hard enough to be an agent, right? Trying to get a bull rider to show up to an autograph signing, right? I can't imagine.
Go pick up yourself.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to manage all the professional bull riders in the world and try to get them all on the same page. That sounds like a nightmare. And I've been asked, on the union stuff. Well, what do you think about you taking it and running with it? I'm like, not interested. Sorry. I think it should be done, but I don't want to be the guy to do it.
I don't know how it would be done now. It would have to be someone that would be bilingual, I think. It would have to be, because it's got to be someone that can have a good connection with the Brazilian side of things. Because if you don't have those guys on board, you're hosed right
Yep.
now, especially. But I haven't paid attention enough lately. But I think the best opportunity would have been when JB and Cooper were top of the league on the American side of things. I don't know. I just don't know who the leader in that dressing room is now on the U.S. side of things and the Brazilian side of things. Like I'm not around it enough to even know who the leaders are. But if you had a guy like JB could dictate, not as a dictator, but he could have a lot of pull to make something like that happen. Where that's just not like I don't know who that person is right now. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know the Australian Brady Fielder enough to know if he's a leader in that room and if he's going to command everybody to play ball on his side. I don't know if Dalton Castle is going to be that guy. Like,
Yeah.
And because when that person is at the top, even like a JB can say, no, we're not doing that. But he's still his ass is on the line too, right? That's one of the things is that like if you don't like it, don't go. That's part of the other side of it is that there's a lot of weight on the league side with the PBRs. They're like, well, if you don't like it, then go do something else. Or they
No,
can't say that to JB. JB, they needed JB, and he
no,
did
yeah,
eventually leave to go rodeo, but it's an interesting dynamic.
yeah, for sure. And like I said, like we talked about earlier, it's a small pond, right? And like guys like JB and um, Cooper, they, yeah, I agree with you. Those two could have led the charge, but for what's the cost to them? I mean, Cooper's
Might be a
on air
lot.
now. Cooper's on air doing commentating, right? JB's a coach of a team. So it's like, yeah, if I go do that, I'm burning bridges, right? So you basically have to have a kamikaze come in there and be willing. I don't care. I want nothing to do
Which is what
with
Tough tried to do, and then they ousted him. He's one of the
exactly.
pillars of the sport.
So I mean, it's a kamikaze job, right? If you're going to go be the lead of that, you're going to burn all your bridges. You're not ever going to be a commentator. You're not ever going to be a coach of a team or GM of a team. You're
Or an
burning all
agent.
the bridges to to go strictly on the riders. And the only way that were to happen, I think, is if you have either an outside person come in who has no affiliation, they don't care, they got plenty of money, they're not worried about that, and they take the lead, or maybe a bull rider somehow is rich and doesn't care about all those opportunities that he's going to burn away and does it. That's the only way it ever happens, because I don't blame Cooper or JB or any top guy for not taking the charge. I don't blame them one bit. You got to take care of your future as an individual and your family, and you got to look out for that first and foremost. So I don't fault any of those guys for not looking at doing that, because I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest with you, that they're doing, because it's for one, it'd be a heck of a hard job to do, and like I say, you're lighting a fire to a bunch of opportunities. So,
Hmm.
so I
Um,
don't know if it will ever happen.
yeah, I'm
Who
not
knows?
sure. I'm not sure. I would love to see further growth inside the
Yeah,
sport. That's I
yeah,
I think teams has been a big thing, but you go to talk about the sponsor side of the teams, and that is the only asset that a PBR team has to market slash sales slash generate income. That's the only way they can really make money, isn't it? They don't get the proceeds from their event.
yeah. I don't. I've tried to wrap my head around it, and I finally just gave up, because I'm like, it doesn't concern me. I'm not going to waste my brain power on it.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't. And I'm a businessman, right? And I'm a numbers guy, and I look at it and I'm like, I don't. I mean, I hope this guy who just spent 10 million, 20 million on a team figures out a way. I hope they do. And they're smart businessmen. You don't have that kind of money without being smart on the business side. So hopefully there can be a way to figure it out. Or if there's not, trust me, these guys, the guys who have bought teams that are smart businessmen that invested the money, they'll be gone. I mean, they'll figure out a way to write it off and just throw it in the can and move on to something else. Because outside of just a tax write off, if they bought the team to make money, and there's no, there's not a way to do it, they finally, if they come to a point where like this, we can't do it, we're not doing it. I mean, they'll have no problem. People with that kind of money light a match to it and write it off and move on to the next project they've got. But I hope they do, right, for the sake of the sport. I hope there is, I hope I hope it works. I guess I should say that. I hope it works, because it. I don't see it, but I don't have all the numbers in front of me. I don't have all the. I don't know. I'm not a team owner, so I don't know all that goes into it. So I really can't speak on it. I just can sit back and watch and hopefully, for once again, for the riders' sake, because I'm all about the riders, I hope it works. Right now it's when teams first started coming around, and I got wind of it, and I think Gleason and I even talked about it at New York, first event of the year, and I think he kind of gave me a Cliff Notes version on his thoughts, and I'm like, okay, I'm if it helps the riders and to make more money, and I'm all on board all day long. I don't care what it is, right? The riders agree with it, they're okay with it, it makes them more money, full support. But as it came on that finals that year, it was, yeah, they're going to do it, right? So I started figuring out, I started getting more intel on it, on how it was possibly going to play out. And I started having concerns because, once I learned, well, the riders I represent, the partnerships that I've got for them, does not transfer to the team uniform, right? That's when I started having concern, because I'm like, okay, and I talked to a few sponsors, like Monster obviously had a great relationship with them. I talked to them about it, just like, what's your thoughts on it? And eventually I ended up having a conversation with Gleason about it. And I just told him my concerns, right? Because, you got somebody making 300, 500,000 outside of the arena, right, in partnerships, and they can't carry that partnership to the teams. It's just natural that that's probably going to reduce, right? So, my concern was, I don't care, if they lose sponsors because of this deal, it is what it is, but they need to not be going backwards overall, right? That better be made up on the money they're going to bring in from this team's deal, because you're not helping the sport if the riders are making less money. Now, the thing is it only encompassed a certain number of guys, right? Because there's only a certain number of guys who are making really good money outside of the arena. So, and I would say 10 guys. I don't know the exact number, but we'll just say 10. Well, 10 compared to, however many are on the team's deal, they've gone way deep into the talent pool, but, you don't have a majority voice. You can have Joe Blow Bull Rider here saying, I was making 400,000 in sponsors. I just lost 300 of that because of this team's deal. Now I'm only making 250. I just took a $50,000 pay cut because of the team's deal. Well, that's only one guy. That's only a few guys. It's not the majority. And once again, circle back around to the collective bargaining, right? It's a bigger voice you have to address those type of issues. One guy he can complain all day. I just took a $50,000, $100,000 pay cut because of the decision y'all made and the direction y'all are going. Well, they're not going to listen to him. They don't, so that's my concern on the teams is it going to grow enough? Because like I've told my guys, I'm like, look, there's a chance that this goes to all teams. There's no individual tour anymore. And we'll just say, for numbers' sake, 250,000, 300,000 guys making. If you don't have an individual tour, that good chance goes to zero. You might be able to salvage some of it on, like I joke with the riders, you're just going to have to become an influencer, basically what you're going to be now, because we can't give them any branding on TV, which that's a big portion of the partnerships, right? The Monster Claw on a televised tour, on your gear, they're paying for that. Well, now if you don't have that individual tour, you can't offer that anymore. So you're naturally going to take a pay decrease. So that's been my concern all along. And I've tried to prepare like Kababa for it. And I'm like, look, you're still making decent money, but I don't control the tour. I don't, I can only control, the platform you're riding on. And if the individual tour goes away, just be prepared that you're going to a low number compared to what you're making now.
And the guys that are on the teams lost a lot of their potential exposure this year with the team challenges because they had to wear all their team jerseys at those individual events on the broadcast too, right? So you lost a ton of assets there as well this year, didn't you?
Yeah. Which they didn't, it wasn't, not every team rode at every event, right? It's a select few. And I can't remember how many they had to do, maybe two. But for that one round, right? That's 2 rounds. And, yeah, and there was no ask on that. They didn't ask the riders. That's what we're going to do. So what do? You have to do it, or you don't have to do it, but you're not going to be riding in the PBR tour, right? You're going to be gone. So you have a choice to a certain point, but it's the choice. If you make the wrong choice in that scenario, it affects your career, right? I mean, you're off the tour. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I've always said, if the sport's growing, the guys are making more money. That's how I gauge things. And I've never, vocally said, "Oh, the PBR sucks. They're not doing things right." That's not. That's not how I operate, because I've always been supportive of the PBR for 23 years, and because that's the platform my athletes ride on, right? That's the reason they're making the kind of money they're making outside the arena is because of that platform. So why would I cuss the platform, right? I'm not going to do that. It's helped these guys make more money outside the arena. Now, obviously, I had concern, and I told Gleason on a phone call that here's my concern. I don't want my guys to make less money. That's my responsibility. That's the job I do for them. And I think he can respect that, right? I'm not saying what he's doing is wrong. I'm just saying I have concerns that, what do I need to do on my end, to try to help them not lose money? And I've never been, and that was a different situation for me because I've always been the mindset, I'm trying to make more money. I'm trying to make more money year after year, right? Now, next thing I know, I have to go in defense mode. I'm trying not to lose them money. And so that was a different, that was kind of a shocker for me to have to deal with that. So hopefully it'll all work out. We only deal with, and my Brad, he deals with it. I don't even handle that portion. The teams deal, like Ababa's on Carolina Cowboys. And I was involved on the backside, right? I mean, I looked at the contract and we talked, behind the scenes about the deal with Kababa, and but Brad's the one who negotiates with the team. He's the attorney. I just told him when the teams came up, I'm like, this is your department. It's not mine. I go get sponsors. That's my specialty. Your specialty's contracts. Even though to this day, after being partners for 20 years, he tells me, he goes, you're basically an attorney. And you know that, right? You've looked at so many contracts that all the BS stuff that attorneys try to put in these things. And I can comb through a contract and spot stuff. I mean, I could redline a contract pretty good. But that was an easy out for me on the team negotiation. Like, you're the attorney, you do it. I don't want to do it. But hopefully, like I said, I'm cheering for the sport 24/7. I just, and it's because of the athletes, right? Because I was one, right? It goes all the way back because I ran my hand in the rope for a lot of years. So I know what it takes to be a bull rider. And I know the career's not that long, really, in the scope of your whole life, because I'm living proof. I've lived it, right? I lived the bull riding life, and that seems like so long ago, and it just a blip of my life, right? It's really what it was. And that's what that's the message I try to tell my bull riders is, like, this is just a portion of your life. Enjoy it while it's here, because it's going to be gone, and yeah, it's really crazy how fast it goes.
I've had this thought in my mind for a while. Were you part of the Enterprise deal back in the day too? Was that
Mhm.
your that was your
No,
creation as well?
I didn't bring him.
No.
But I did get Cody Lostro his deal with Enterprise.
Okay.
Uh,
When he won the
and
year he won the world too.
well, yeah, I put my neck. I mean, uh, that guy didn't want. They weren't going to sign Cody, and because they were signing big names, right? They had Michael Gaffney, they had J.W. Hart, and I can't remember who all was on that team, but
Rob Bell, Brian
uh,
Herman.
yeah, they had guys that were established, right? That was Team Enterprise, and here I am trying to get this young gun on the Enterprise team, and at good money. And I remember the guy, I can't remember that guy's name that I negotiated with, but he probably thought this guy is off his rocker because I was pitching numbers. And he's like, well, why should I pay him that? He doesn't have a, he's just a young up and comer. I said, because this kid's going to be a world champion. And he's like, you don't know that. I mean, he was telling, I said, I've been around the sport enough to know I'd lay money on it. This kid's going to be a world champion. And I got the deal done, and sure enough, he went on and won a world title. So
Thanks, Cody. I really needed that one.
yeah, exactly.
Uh
Yeah.
uh
So
sorry, you got anything else on that?
no, I wasn't really involved in that whole enterprise deal. Like I said, Cody was the only one I had involved with it, and because I can't remember what years
It
that
was early
was. It had,
2000s too, because it was, remember, it was a big thing about Flint being the official entertainer. And somewhere,
yeah,
I don't know if it was a PBR contract or if it was something to do with Enterprise, but there was some $1 million thing with Flint over like a 3 or 4 year deal where he was the official entertainer. And I think
yeah,
Enterprise paid his whole way. I think I don't remember if that was the deal, but I think it was $1 million over 3 years.
yeah. It had to have been 2005. Now that I think about it, because I remember I started first time I met Cody Lostro in person was at the Colorado Springs event when we launched the U.S. Army sponsorship. So that was 2004, and that's when I started working for Cody. I think toward the end of that year, and then going into the next year. So yeah, it probably had been like 2005 somewhere in there.
Um,
But
I gotta ask a couple more things before we move on here. I'm getting the feeling, and I don't know the details, but I'm getting the feeling that there's a bit of a downturn going on right now on the XD side of things, just with the way the teams has gone, and I might be hearing it wrong, but it seems like are you pulling back on some of this agency stuff on the PBR side of things, or is there less going on because there's essentially half a season for you now? Uh, is there less athletes for you to work with because there's other players in the business? I don't know the landscape of it, but I'm getting the feeling that there's a bit of a pullback right now.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, 2 years ago, me and my partner made the decision that this is it. We're not done, right? Because we still have deals that we manage for JB. Cody Teal still riding, and then Kababa, right? And Kababa's, I mean, he just turned 29 the other day, so he's got. I mean, I don't know how long he's going to ride. I never do ask my riders when they're going to retire, but you know, he's got a few more years. And so we're not completely out of the game, but we made a decision 2 years ago that we're not adding anybody else. This is it. This is our set, and obviously JB's retired within that time. I mean, obviously he's still relevant, so he's got partnerships we manage. But Teal, like I said, I don't ask when they're going to retire, but Teal's not probably far off. So it's coming to a close, and we made that decision. I mean, not strictly based on the team's deal, but I mean, I can't say it was zero team. I mean, teams probably had a portion of it, right? Um, and this, I mean, 23 years. We've been going. We just keep getting older. The bull riders stay the same age, and so at a point you're just, it's been a good ride, and not that we have to quit. I mean, I could keep grinding, keep trying to go to events and get guys signed and do that whole game that I've been doing for 23 years. But I think I've just reached a point in my life that I've got other interests, other things that I need to focus my attention to. My clothing brand, Vexil Brand, it just keeps demanding more and more of my time. And and I've got two younger, I've got 4 kids total, but I've got 2 younger, 12 and 14-year-old that I don't want to, I want to be around. They're in the dirt bike riding. We go to dirt bike races, and I don't want to be on the road traveling. And to go be a good agent, you got to show up. If you're looking to continue sign new guys, right, you've got to go to events. You've got to be relevant, and showing those guys your personality, and that's how I did it for so long. But I'm just not willing to make that sacrifice anymore. So it was time to make the decision and transition to the other. Like I said, I still represent Kababa. Kababa is obviously the main one because he's the only one on the PBR riding, right? Teals, he goes a few velocities here and there, but he's mainly rodeoing now. But I've known Kababa since he was 15. And so we're probably more friends than anything. We talk every week, just for no reason, right? Just whatever. But I told him I wouldn't abandon him. I started when we were 15. I wasn't his agent when he was 15. That's just when I met him. But I've been his agent ever since he was 18. Got on tour, and so I told him I'm here for you till the end. Still involved somewhat. So, but yeah, you're correct you're right on your feeling.
So, how much of your time is spent on Vexil now, and what's next? I might have been right on that assessment, but now I'm curious what's next for you, Shawn. I'm wondering. I'm getting the feeling that there's something coming here, and I'm not sure what it is, or if it's a higher focus on Vexil, or if there's something else that we haven't even talked about yet that you're about to spend a bunch of time on.
Yeah, well, Vexil's, it's a beast, right? It's not as big as it probably seems if you're an outsider looking in. It's it's just me and my wife, and then I've got some contract workers that handle our ads, social ads, and email marketing. A couple of sales people, and then we have a fulfillment center that ships all of our product. But in the day-to-day, it's really just me and my wife, right? She handles customer service. I handle all the product design and marketing and all that. So the more it grows, it just demands more of your time, right? You're just more things to do. It was, when I started it 10 years ago, it was, I just kind of let it grow organically. And that was right when I started. My wife thought I lost my mind because that was right in the heat of the battle of. I was gone every other weekend. I was, it's when I was doing all the, had Monster. I was consulting for them. I was bringing on new partners. I actually did a stint in rodeo for a while where I was Tough Cooper and Fallon Taylor's agent. And that was during that time period. And I had brought on General Motors, created Team Chevy Rodeo during that time. So yeah, it was like at the peak of XD Sports, the busiest I've ever been. I decided to start a clothing brand. So yeah, my wife thought I'd lost my mind, but just let it grow organically, right? But it just keeps growing year over year. And obviously COVID was a big year for us. We grew like huge. Because since we're a direct-to-consumer brand mainly, selling e-commerce, the brand really took off that in 2020. And so, yeah, that's, for the foreseeable future, that's my daily grind. And I have started on my new challenge. I should say my new challenge, which I shouldn't say. Vexil's a challenge day in and day out, because I didn't go to school to be a clothing brand owner. You're just shooting from the hip and trying to, making mistakes. Yeah, exactly. You just
failing
shoot from the
forward.
Hip. Yeah. You make mistakes and learn from them. I hope you don't make them again and make a new mistake the next day. So that's the grind with Vexil. But I've started writing a lot of songs lately. And I've always been musical for a number of years, but I've never really taken it serious. my guitar sits in my office, and when you hear so many no's in a day, and you make so many emails and phone calls, you need like a breather. So I've over the years, I just pick up my guitar and play a few chords, and next thing you know, I maybe wrote a verse and a chorus, and then I set it down, and I probably never sing that again. It's just kind of a stress release, right? And but I made a decision last year that I was going to start finishing songs, because I was king of writing half songs, because I wasn't taking it serious, right? It was just an outlet for me. I made a decision last year, okay, just write the second verse, finish the song. And I didn't finish them all, but I finished more than I normally had last year. And then so this year I made the decision, okay, I'm going to write regardless. This is part of who I am. I might as well really take it serious and throw some stuff against the wall and see if it sticks. So I've made a decision this year to obviously finish songs and put my money where my mouth is and go put it out there. And because I've always said I'm okay with failing. I fail on a daily basis. I'm not okay with not trying, because I don't want to wake up 20 years from now and say, man, I wish I would have pursued that. Right. I'd rather pursue it and fail than have to live with the regret of not trying. And I think that holds a lot of people back in this world, is they're afraid to try because of failure, right? Afraid of what other people are going to think. So they never do it. Well, that's a recipe for regret in the future, in my opinion. And so you only get one life. You should close your eyes for the final time and not have one single regret. Say, you know what, I did it all. I gave it my all. And that's my outlook on this songwriting deal. Is it's probably the hardest challenge. And I've challenged myself over the years. I feel like I have, right? I've had big goals with the agency and shot for the moon and hit some targets there. And, but this is probably my biggest challenge, because it's an unknown for me. I didn't grow up in the music business. I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm just learning as I go, which, I mean, that's kind of how I've done life anyway. But, there's so many songwriters out there, so many great songwriters. And for me to think that I can actually go write something good enough for somebody to cut and hear it on the radio, it's pretty ballsy. I mean, I'm even like looking in the mirror going, gee whiz, but that's what makes it fun for me too, is I like a good challenge, right? And I joke with my wife, because once again, my wife thinks I've lost my mind again. Think, what? You're focusing more on songwriting? And I joke with her, like, hey, I may be 85 years old. We'll be sitting on the front porch rocking, and I might get the call, hey, you finally got a cut, and it'll be worth it. So, but so we'll see how that goes. But like I say, my main goal on that is I can't live with not trying.
I'm inferring a little bit here too that Vexil did very well, has done very well, is doing well, and XD did very well for you over the 23-year span. So I'm assuming you invested very well. Now I'm you must have done well on that side of things, because but also Vexil's probably doing good too. But
yeah, it's doing good, and it's an investment, though. I mean, talking about investments, that's the thing. Most people don't realize that when you have an outside seat looking at something, you don't have the full perspective on really what goes on. It's no different than I'd like to, what do they say about social media? I mean, you can't look at somebody's social media posts and think, even though people do think, this person has it made, they've got such a great life, right? They're just showing you the highlights, right? It's no different than a brand, right? Most people don't realize, to keep continually grow, you have to continue. It takes money to make money. And so if you want to grow, then you got to invest more money in it. You got to buy more product for the next season, so I'm not saying we haven't done well. We have. My point is behind the curtain, it's probably not as, big as you think it is, because it just takes, especially when we're self-funded, right? It's, you put the money back in. I want to grow. Yeah, we are growing. Well, if I want to grow next year, I got to spend more money on caps, more money on shirts, more money, so it's like the bill just keeps getting more expensive. Yeah, we make more money, but then it's like, it's just like a never ending snowball.
I get
But
it.
my whole thing is, um, I want to enjoy waking up and doing what I do. That's been my whole uh, goal throughout my whole life. And, as soon as I wake up and I dread working on Vexil, I'll know it's time to do something else, because I've made it a point not to live my life that way. It's not about the money for me. It's about the day-to-day life, right? Am I excited Monday to wake up and go do the things that I've got to do for my job to make a living? That's how I gauge things. I can make um, less money, but if I check the box of I'm happy, that was fun, that's how I gauge my satisfaction. It's not, I need to be some, uh, multi millionaire to go be happy. That's not how I gauge my happiness. So, because hey, when I die, I don't take any of it with me. So, that's it. And a lot of people fall into that rut, right? Oh, I got to make all this money so I can eventually retire one day and be happy. Uh, well, that's probably not the best way to go about life, because there's a lot of life in between now and retirement, right?
I'm
So,
with you. I'm of the same opinion. I want to do what I like to do as many days as possible and make a living around make a living around that in some capacity. I'm not finding the right words right now, but I'm of the same opinion of
yeah,
that you have too. Where I keep bringing this up every time I talk to somebody. It feels like, but my dad passed away January 1st. But he always told me, he said, Ted, once you find something you like to do, go do it. Find a way to make a living at it, and you'll never. If you like what you're doing, you'll never actually work a day in your life.
yeah.
And he did 3 or 4 different careers. He was drove truck for a while, and really enjoyed that. And he loved driving the big rigs that way and driving gravel trucks, and like, he drove around the world. And he what else did he do? He was a tool pusher for a long time as well. Like, had a whole bunch of different jobs, but always did a lot of fun stuff, right? He traveled the world. He worked for the I want to say the sheikhs, like somewhere in the Middle East, and was drilling for oil over there, and
Mm.
was got to hang out with the sheikhs' horses somewhere, like I don't even know where now. My brother's got some stories, and we talked to dad about it. We recorded them anyways, but like recorded those stories. But yeah, find something you like to do and never actually work a day in your life, and I'm with you on that.
But yeah, it looks like you're doing it. So
Some
keep
days,
growing. Yeah.
some
Well,
days.
I will say that to that point is, and I love that saying, there's not there's some untruth in that. You have to work regardless. And that's what, I finally came to grips with over the years is I'm still going to have to, even though I've been my own boss for however many years, I still have to do things that aren't my favorite. That's just life. And so no matter what, even in a job that I love to go to every day, right? My own brand that I built from scratch, there's aspects about it that I don't like to do, but that's just part of the grind. And a lot of people don't see that right behind the curtain. They just see you own your own brand, you're an agent for bull riders. Uh,
Get
Man,
to
it's
travel around all
great,
the time.
but it's still, there's a sacrifice. There's things that you have to do regardless of what path you take, and you just have to come to grips with that, right? Just come to
That's a
grips with
trade-off.
it. Yeah, understand that no matter what, you can be in the best job in the world, whether working for yourself or somebody else. There's still going to be aspects of that job that are not your favorite, but
Hmm.
they have to be done, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's cheaper for me to do it than hire someone to do it. But if I
Yeah,
want to run a business, I have to know how to delegate because I can't do everything.
true.
Uh,
That's
but
right. That's a downfall for me.
pardon?
That's a downfall for me. Yeah,
You're not a delegator?
yeah. Well, I've learned to be, but
Yeah.
I could probably delegate more, right?
Yeah. Um, Sean, I gotta land the plane here. It's I only got 5% battery left in my computer, and we've
Well,
been
there you
talking for
go.
like 2 hours.
Well, that means we
And
did a good one. Just run your battery out.
one question I ask everybody is what their definition of cowboy shit is. So we got to get that in, and then we got to wrap it up with anything else I might have missed. So
Yeah. Well,
there's probably lots. We could talk another 2 hours. I appreciate the
yeah.
insights and the opinions and the stories. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for doing this. But yeah, tell me about cowboy shit, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could come up with all kinds of different definitions, right? But I think when I visualize cowboy shit, right? Man, did you watch that Derek Begay, Dale Brisby?
I didn't get to watch the whole thing yet, but I've heard about it, and like I think I know part of what they were doing, having
Yeah.
read a book about Jake Zelke, the Lost Cowboy. He has a book where he talked about doing that in Australia, and he describes it very in detail. And I'm imagining it's got to be very identical to what Derek and JB did. It's got
Yeah.
and Brisby, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cowboy Shit should have been the sponsor of that whole deal because that was Cowboy Shit. Like it was fun to watch, but I'm like, I don't think a cowboy enough to go do all that stuff. I mean, when you got Dale jumping off his horse in the cactus, tackling a steer or cow, whatever it was, mugging her down, yeah, I'm just like, that's cowboy shit, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen cowboy shit growing up my whole life in different scenarios, right? I've seen it at rodeos. Some guy makes a bull move on it, just a nasty, eliminator bull, and that's cowboy shit, right? So there's different scenarios that I think that applies to, right?
Well, I appreciate your time on this. Did I miss anything else?
I don't think so.
Where can people find you for your next chapter here? Vexil Brand. Give us the deets that way before we wrap it up.
At Vexil Brand on all the social medias. That's the handle at Vexil Brand. My personal is at Shawn Wiese. Uh, uh, yeah, I'm pretty active on there on both channels. So yeah, if you want to follow me, come on along.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate the time. Thanks so much for your time, Sean.
You bet. Thanks for having me.